this is the kind of the $1 million question relating to the book. I would say that what the book does, it provides a new way of thinking of the EU's role in the region. Many, in academia, but also in policy circles, would now say that if the Arab Spring has shown anything, it is the extent to which the EU is an ineffective or powerless foreign policy actor. What the book does, it's through the lens of security community building, or providing the lens of the security community building institution, it kind of shifts the focus a little bit also on where to look for ways that the EU kind of can play an if you like, positive role in the region. And it highlights, above all, the kind of the possibilities that practical cooperation in relations to non-military threats, transboundary risks presents, and the way that the EU then provides venues for actors in the region to cooperate on these issues. So this, you can say, is the empirical story that is told in the book. It's focused on Spain and Morocco and what basically the EU has been, the role of the EU vis-a-vis Spain and Spanish-Moroccan relations after the end of the Cold War. If you remember, there were a lot of tensions between Spain and Morocco in the 1990s, early 2000s. We had territorial disputes almost leading to military contestation in 2002. There had been numerous events of Spain and Morocco clashing over issues of trade, fisheries, agricultural exports, and other. Now, the argument in the book is that through the provision of multilateral venues, and enhance the transgovernmental cooperation vis-a-vis EU policy areas such as trade, the common security and defense policy, but also civil protection. The EU has managed to kind of embed Spanish and Moroccan relation in a more kind of multilateral settings that has lessened the tension between Spain and Morocco. So that is basically the kind of the role of the EU in this regard. And I think this is something that is perhaps not usually in focus when you discuss the role of the EU in this region. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion on kind of the changing role of the EU in the region. Basically, the EU, but also the United States, losing out to other actors, international actors, perhaps China and Russia mainly. I'm not sure that narrative is correct. I'm not sure that the other actors is indeed capable of basically filling the vacuum that perhaps the United States and the EU or European states is perhaps leaving in the region. But there is no doubt changes here, and the kind of the composition and roles of international actors in the Mediterranean region will probably be very different in the future from what we've seen up until the Arab Spring of 2011. I think the bottom message, though, is that the region is not going anywhere, Europe is not going anywhere, and if there's anything that the EU needs to be better at, it is thinking much more creatively of how to engage with not only states in the region, but also societies, people. In terms of other broader, I think, research agendas that kind of stems out of the book, is going for more comparative analysis of different regions. Of course, Mediterranean is one region where particularly it's particularly interesting to focus on this kind of the new security agenda of non-military threats and transboundary risks. But it's not the only one. Take the issue of climate change. Some people argue that this has been a driver for even the conflicts in Syria. But of course, climate change is not only affecting this region of the world, but also other regions of the world. So if you take this, the focus on regional institutions as security community building institutions, I see the possibilities to go much broader and look at comparatively regional organizations around the world in different regional contexts, Southeast Asia, perhaps Africa, perhaps South America, and then link that to findings presented in this book on the EU and the EU's role in the Mediterranean region.